The phantom phone calls and the real consequences of a conversation between Trump and Putin uh, today are. It's very frustrating. The use of tenses in the media. There's one report which says Trump and Putin are speaking, but it's certainly not clear whether that is the present continuous or whether it's some sort of proleptic tense about an inevitability, or whether it's an evasion because Trump has not actually spoken to the real Putin, or Trump is speaking to an advisor, or so many translators are getting in the way. The subject of this phone call should be fairly straightforward, or perhaps the idea of a phone call between Trump and Putin. It may have happened, it may be happening, or in the spirit of political stagecraft, it may never happen at all. What happens more than the verb tense is the context. The global theatre is real, death is certain, and diplomacy is at once theatrical and tragically elusive. And meanwhile, across the continent in Romania, voters have turned away from Trump-style nationalism and instead elected a mathematician with a penchant for pro-EU reform, a surprising pivot east of Vienna that may tell us more about the West's soul than Trump's Truth Social ever could. Trump has declared he would be speaking to Putin at 10 a.m. Washington time, a sentence trapped in grammatical limbo. Is it a prediction, a performance, a postmodern exercise in prolepsis? Some headlines claim Trump speaks to Putin. Others claim he will speak to Putin. The truth unclear. But what is clear is that Trump continues to wield the illusion of agency in a war that completely belies reality. The complexity belies his usual claim that only he can end it. Why the obsession with this call? Because Trump promised peace before even taking office, and over 100 days down the road he's still not delivered that, because he believes, or he wants us to believe, that his personal magnetism can outmatch missiles, his sort of mesmerism, trench warfare and Russian expansionism. But a telephone call is not a treaty, a photo op is not a pact. Trump's voice is not the voice of God, and no matter how bombastically it's billed, it cannot undo the carnage inflicted by 273 drones the other night launched by Russia over the weekend, or the blood of civilians killed in Sumy and Kyiv. And then, just as Trump prepares to broker peace in Ukraine, Romania quietly delivers a verdict on its ideological twin. George Simeon, who styled himself as the Romanian Trump, has been defeated overwhelmingly, and the urbane-centrist pro-European mathematician won with 53.6%. That's extraordinary. Not because he was a populist, but precisely because he wasn't. Romania still bearing the scars of dictatorship and the flirtation with the what are the name of those two brothers? The Tate brothers. So it chose rational reform over the swagger of nationalism. This matters. While Trump courts Putin and raises the spectre of territorial concessions from Ukraine, Romania has elected a man who defends Western integration and stands with Kyiv. The contrast couldn't be sharper. Unless we not forget, Simeon, who is banned from entering Ukraine, was allied with another far-right figure banned from standing. They tried to claim the mantle of sovereignty and purity. Romania replied, "Not this time, mate." And meanwhile in Rome, Vice President J.D. Vance, himself a man caught in ideological contortion, is put back in his place, both figuratively and literally, on the other side of the desk in an audience with Pope Leo XIV. The optics were clear. Vance brought a Chicago Bears t-shirt. The Pope gave him a bronze sculpture with the words, "Peace is a fragile flower." And that flower, of course, is being crushed under the boots of drones and artillery in Donetsk. The Pope, a man born in Chicago and tempered in Peru, is not native and not naive. He's not naive about the limits of papal diplomacy, but his general rebuke that peace cannot be bought with trade deals or vanity calls hangs heavily in the air. What we're witnessing is not diplomacy, but performance. Trump choreographs conversations like set pieces in a reality show, while Putin bombs Ukrainian civilians with renewed intensity to make a point, as if he's shouting. There is no symmetry here, only a charade that insults the dead. And Romania's voters, perhaps more than any foreign policy analyst, have understood this dissonance. They have rejected the nationalist theatre and chosen instead a quieter realism, the kind that might yet rebuild Europe rather than fracture it. And so we end where we began, with a phone call that may or may not matter, that may or may not have taken place, in an election result that might matter more than any phone call ever could.